This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Friday, September 23rd, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From the Associated Press, at least 9 killed as Iran protests over woman's death spread. The death of a 22-year-old woman who was in custody of the Iranian morality police for not wearing her headscarf properly has sparked a wave of protests across Iran, resulting in at least 9 deaths and a whole lot of very unusual physical pushback against police forces attempting to control the unrest. This woman's death seems to be serving as the final straw for many Iranians, young people in particular, but not exclusively, who are now publicly venting their frustrations about many aspects of the ultra-conservative, theocratic government that's ruled Iran since 1979. There have been a bunch of international condemnations of Iran's morality police force and their treatment of women and protesters over the years, but this instance of alleged brutality seems to have surfaced a long developing pocket of intense political and ideological frustration the government doesn't seem to have accounted for. From the Wall Street Journal, NASA's DART mission will test Earth's defenses against asteroids. NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART probe, is on schedule to crash into an asteroid next Monday. The probe was launched back in November of 2021 and will intentionally slam into one asteroid of a dual asteroid system to ascertain how effective such an impact might be against an incoming space rock, which should help us figure out if this kind of approach would be useful in defending Earth against an asteroid that might actually hit us someday. And to be clear, this one will not hit us. It's not coming anywhere close to us, and is only being used for experimental purposes, so we can see how well or not well probe-based nudging works on these sorts of space objects. And from BBC News, US charges dozens with $250 million pandemic relief fraud. In what the FBI director has called the largest crime of its kind so far, 47 people in Minnesota have been accused of stealing about $250 million from a pandemic-era government aid program meant to help feed children in need while their schools were shut down for safety reasons. This is quite the story, but the short version is that these several dozen people allegedly faked a whole bunch of data, including pretending to prepare and deliver food to children they made up using online randomizers and name generators like listofrandomnames.com, and then pocketed most of the money, buying themselves fancy cars, property in the US, Turkey, and Kenya, and paying for international travel, all while bribing employees of a nonprofit to help cover it up. The U.S. Department of Justice said back in March that it was working on more than 1,000 cases of this kind, involving the theft of about $1.1 billion in aid money, and it was pursuing civil litigation in cases tallying around $6 billion in allegedly fraudulent loans. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.